FragWatch here. Today we're going to be discussing the most influential mouse pads of the last 25 years. Woo-wee. First off, let's start with, let's give credit to everyone's original mouse pad, the and for those who are too young, they were office mouse pads. They were not meant for large swipes, and mice at the time didn't support that really anyways. So that's what most gamers started with, was these little small pads, and all the desks made at the time, the mousing area was really small. If you used the table, you were lucky. Yeah, if you're in my age range, that is, right? So, because you're using your parents' stuff at the time because you were younger. So the first really gaming pads, I think, that deserve recognition were pads originally designed for people using 3D creation studios, 3D Studio Max, and other CAD software. For architects and 3D graphic designers and things like that. They were the first big pads. They were also called painter's pads back in the day, and they're big. They were blue. All of them were blue. Every single one of them was blue. And you could buy them at Micro Center or at specialty stores for architects and CAD, and stuff like that. It was kind of weird back then. But they were the best pads for competitive shooters because they were the only ones with big mousing area. There were some people I know that made their own big mouse pads, which most people would just use a series of cloth, because we were on ball skates back then. Before I think it was 1999, the Intel Explorer was released, or 2000, which was a USB mouse, the first optical sensor implementation, which was a whole different story. I just did a video on that. I'll release it before this one, so you can watch that. It's the most influential mice and mice technologies of the last 25 years. Good watch. Hope you enjoy it. I think, let me give a shout out to IceMat. First of all, they were the first glass pad. They were the first one to really, really go out of the box. There were plastic and hard pads prior to that that all try to tackle the same problem. There was, I'm thinking of one that would it was a hard pad with a placeholder mat, and then a pad that you placed inside that. And on one side it was smooth, and on one side it was rough. Come on, old folks. Remind me what that is. Oh, man, that's going to drive me nuts for the rest of this video. I'm not going to be able to think of it. I'm going to have to re-release this video, and with that one included, because that was a total, everyone was like, wow, that's cool. There was, what was that called? The shark pad, another one that was plastic, hard plastic, the attack pad or the shark pad. The reason they made these was they kept the ball rolling on the mouse really well. They gripped the ball, so that they were very hilly. They had a lot of texture to them, but it was smooth texture. It made you want the ball rolling, but you don't want it hard on the ball, because you don't want to divot the ball or scrape the ball, because that ball needed to retain its size in order to get that little wheel actuators inside its little casing. If you've ever seen a ball mouse, you know what I'm talking about. So they had to be smooth, but have enough friction and texture to keep that ball rolling, keep everything smooth, and not affect the bottom of the mouse. So I think when it comes to gaming cloth pads, the first real pads I think the Aqua series by X-Ray Pad was the first one where people were like, oh, wow, this is cool. And that was the one everyone cloned, right? And even there were some companies like Got Frag that put their logo on what was basically an Aqua 3. and that was a cool, and those were good pads. I just found one in the basement. Cool, good memory. Give a shout out to SteelSeries for what was the name of they really experimented from about 2005 to 2013. They had several experimental mouse pads. There was the 5L, which was a hybrid. It was foam and then a hard like PVC layer, and then another layer of foam and then cloth. It was 5 layers. That's what the 5L standard for. And it was this really unique long shape with a curve, and it was like, I thought it was a really good mouse pad. If you bent it, it would break. Mine did. But I won tournaments on that map, or that mouse pad. I love that thing. It's a special place in my heart. Yeah, in my heart. In my heart. Then there was the 4D by SteelSeries, which was, what was the material? It was like a hard foam. Almost like a rubberized foam. And it had like these little dot dimples. It was smaller. It had a silicone backing, which was kind of like a first, but it wasn't like really sticky. But it adhered. It was my travel mouse pad. Hell, it's still in both my laptop bags. I still use it to this day because it's small at work. Like I can put it anywhere. It's a like they're beasts, man. I own like 4 of them. I've given 2 of them away. Man, they're just awesome though. So the 4D. They had this, was it Razer with the Sphex was another one that I think was influential, which was basically just like a wallpaper for your desk with some texture. That was a cool pad. Let's see, let's dive back. So those for like hybrid pads, I think SteelSeries was very innovative. And really kept iterating. With the ice mat being mentioned, we have to mention SkyPad, right? For getting those glass pads out there and sticking with it. I mean, that's tenacity right there. To stick with a product that not a lot of people bought for a decade. And then, I really, in the last year and a half, is the only time glass pads have really been getting true traction and in the attention they deserve, and the durability and technology's come far enough. I had 2 ice mats. I had the black one and I had the frost version. Both of mine broke. My frost one, which was, God, those looked sweet. They were really small mouse pads. They were like the size of a standard office mouse pad, maybe like an inch bigger width and height. But how my frost one broke is I set a glass down on it, and it shattered. It fucking shattered. Just. But before that, both of mine had the corners damaged, and it's like tempered glass. So if you hit the side of it hard enough, the inside's going to shatter. Well, it was tempered on the bottom side. I don't know if it was tempered on the top. It was like tempered on the bottom side to keep it together. So at least when it shattered, it didn't you weren't dealing with glass shards everywhere. Anyways, cool. Like, it was a cool technology. Didn't work good with lasers. Didn't work good with a lot of optical implementations. It took optical sensors really till the MX518 Telemouse 3.1A to have technology to work with, well with like ice mat with frosted glass, with some types of plastic. Plastics that were too reflective would confuse the sensor. So, I knew people who took steel wool because they love their hard pad, right? They love the shape of it. They love the feel of it. I know people that took steel wool and rubbed their pads just a little bit so they could use their favorite mouse, which the sensor didn't work with. Their new mouse didn't work with their favorite mouse pad, so they steel wooled it to get that reflectiveness off. And it worked, but, pad didn't feel the same. But, they enjoyed it. They played well with it. Shout out to you. You know who you are. I think that really, man, I'm like draining my brain here, Trying to think of other Logitech PowerPlay, the PowerPlay mat, man. Awesome, just an awesome pad. So I had the and another shout out, Glorious's desk mats. And before they were Glorious, they were called PC Master Race. And obviously they had to change that name. And it was based off an old subreddit. I think maybe that subreddit still exists. I don't know. But they were really one of the first companies pushing full size desk mats for mouse pads. And they had huge sizes. They're great value. It's still like if you're going for an under $30 mouse pad, it's still one of my recommendations. I know I'm gonna get flack for that, but anyways, kudos to them for their full desk implementation. Anyways, the PowerPlay mat would charge your wireless mouse while just mousing on it or just having the mouse on it, right? And it let off a ton of EMF. My tri-field meter would go fucking nuts if it was within like 8 feet of that thing. It was it was crazy. Anyways, so with the PowerPlay mat and the Goliathus, I like both so much, and I hated the surfaces for the PowerPlay mat. It came with a hard surface and a cloth surface. Didn't like either of them. So I built out kind of a custom layout. I had my PowerPlay mat here. This started at another desk at another place I lived. So I had the PowerPlay mat here. Then I found a cork board that was the same height and had it cover the rest of this, cut this shit out, right? So I just had this here, the cork, and then I put the Glorious pad over it, and it still charged, still worked. And it was just great. The other PowerPlay mat thing that was awesome was it had the sensor for Logitech mice, the G900, the G903, the 502X, the Lightspeed series. They all worked with that. So you had, your sensor was on your mouse pad. You didn't need this extra cord. It was just sweet. Really cool technology, like really pushing things forward. So kudos to Logitech for that product line and really trying to push desk cleanliness and like just neatness and mousepad integration technology forward. Let's give a shout out to I'm going to catch flack for this one too, the Razer Firefly for being the first RGB mousepad. I know people are going to give me, like, that mousepad sucked to use, but it looked cool. And it started kind of like a semi-cool trend. Like, if Artisan made a layer under, like a mid layer, like the other foam then they put, an RGB layer underneath with a ring light that shined outwards. Fuck, they're going to copy this. Someone's going to take this. And they should. Give me credit, please. Call it like the fucking whatever. And then put a bottom under that and have RGB out with retaining like an Artisan pad quality. Fuck, I'd pay a lot of money for that. Full stop. Somebody do that, please, God. Firefly, shout out to you for that. Let's see, what other pads? There was SteelSeries had that desk hugger pad before the 4D that was kind of like the cutout of like the old Attack Shark pads. Or old attack pads. I don't know. Everglide. Holy shit. That's who it was. First plastic pad. Everglide. 1999, 2000. Everglide, they were about this big. They were shaped kind of like, I don't know, like a weird, like, UFO. Like, let me... They're really cool. Had like a cutout for your arm. So most people wrist moused back then. It's kind of like the whole full arm movement was more of a 3D. Like that's why those Architect pads existed, and people needed long straight lines. That's why they used those. Anyways, Everglide. It's like the memory recall session with FragWatch. Yeah. Let's see. I think SteelSeries again with the Quick, and then realize the QCK Plus iteration, and then realizing that so many people were taking these to LAN that they needed a thicker implementation, because if you're going to a BYOC or a tournament, or like a tournament where they have the computers there for you, sometimes those tables are really bad and they're chipped up or they're uneven and they're just. So Razer made a pad, or not Razer, SteelSeries made the QCK Plus Heavy, or the Quick Heavy, the QCK Heavy, which was one of the first mouse. I think it was 4.5 millimeters thick. It was one of the, and it was good material. It might have been 5 or 6 millimeters thick. I don't, God, I should pull my old Heavy out. I think I've owned 10 Heavies, maybe 15. I've given 5 away. I've given them, when I would go to tournaments, I would bring 3 of them. I'd have, it would be a row in my laptop bag of just these curled up, and there was a big laptop bag, just these curled up Heavies, because I always knew that someone, even if they're an opponent, would need a good mouse pad, and the most common mouse pad was the QCK. And I like giving, always be good to be kind, even if they're an opponent, even if they're your competition. Some of them didn't give them back, and that's okay. Wins and tournaments are chaos. Issuing forgiveness to those of you who took my mouse pads, and credence to those who beat me and my teams with mouse pads I let them lend. Kudos. Shout out to you guys, really, if you're watching. Random chance. So yeah, the Quick Heavy was the first, really the first pad specifically for LAN tournaments, I feel. If I'm wrong, let me know. But that's why the Heavy variant exists, is so you could use it on a LAN table no matter the condition of the table. If they're using wood tables at a BYOC, I don't know if I've ever used wood tables at a LAN where the computers were provided. I don't know if I've ever had to have that wonderful experience. But if you gone to a BYOC LAN where they're using wood tables, a lot of times the chips will be taken out. These things have been used at like poker parties, they're rental tables. It's just, not fun. Quick Heavy, baby. Awesome. Let's see. What about, we'll go up to, going up to modern day. Y'all know who I'm going to mention. Artisan, baby. They really, they changed the game. Like mouse pads were a thing, right? Having a good mouse pad mattered, but Artisan really introduced the uber quality mouse pad, the high end, detailed, finely crafted. Like, you were getting something that you felt like was made just for you. Like, care was put into it. That is, the weaves were, it was the first time I cared about mouse weaves, right? The different Artisan pads. It's the first time anyone could choose between softnesses of a pad. Mid soft, X soft. Everyone's like, what is this? What do I do? What's the difference? They added dimensionality. You could go deep with that X soft. You have a speed pad that went deep. The Poron, they introduced Poron into mouse pads. Japanese Poron, let's be very specific, because it's just crazy good. They had mouse pads that adhered to your desk better than any mouse pad previous. The biggest mention the last 10 years, even with Logitech's PowerPlay, which I think is incredibly innovative. Artisan gets it, baby. Like, they just get it. With cloth pads, right? They have a mouse pad now. I can firmly say they have a mouse pad now for every use case, for every game, for every playstyle, for every mouse skate configuration. If they had more colorways, which is not a big complaint. I wish they did. Nudge, nudge. Nudge, nudge. Get that going. Man, they'd just be killing it. Yeah, so big shout out to them. They are the high end. Still, period. End of story. They introduced people to high-end mousepads. They made mousepads over $30 acceptable because you're getting quality that's just, craftsmanship went into it. Care went into it. A team of some engineers were racking their heads on how do we make this better? How do we make it the ultimate experience? Kudos, Artisan. Really, hats off, man. This is great stuff. And the industry really needs to give you guys credence and thanks where it's due, including, the big boys. You guys changed the market. Full stop. Yeah, so another mention I want to give out is to Skypad/Wallhack. I think you guys have revolutionized the engineering behind glass mousepads. I think you and your marketing has been wildly successful. Not a big fan of your designs, as you know, but you guys, engineering wise, and I've let you guys know this in DMs. Your engineering team really deserves kudos for pushing your manufacturer to up their game and really being a guiding force for that. And yeah, kudos to you guys, really. Let's get some good designs out there because your copycats are eating your lunch, and you deserve a bigger share of the pie than you have, which is already a huge share of the pie. But yeah, I digress. So, in glass pads, we have the granddaddy, the ice mat. Give credence there. And then you have the tenacity of Skypad moving this basically dead product. Really, no one fucking used this hardly. And, hey, if you're out there, Skypad, Wallhack now, let me know if I'm wrong. I'm not. I'm not. But you guys are tenacious, and you survived. Like, that's crazy. You iterated on your technology. You believed in it so strongly, and you had such a good relationship with the manufacturing that you were able to finally create a product that not only rivals glass pads, but in a lot of use cases is better. So kudos to you guys. I'm not saying you guys are the future, but man, it's hard to look at the marketplace and not say they're going to have a huge market share. And they're really pioneers of the industry. Big shout out to Artisan. You guys created the high-end market. You're the reason the high-end market for mousepads exists. Period. You're the reason that unfortunately, you're the reason that companies think they can justify pads over $30, $35, $40. You're one of the few that deserve that price category because you introduced us to thicknesses and densities. Why that matters. That's crazy. The stitching. You guys were really the first company to do recessed, soft stitching. And like this, like you got clones now. You got people cloning your stuff down to the name, right? Like that's how high end you are. Is you're like the Gucci, of mousepads. This is the Gucci mousepads, Artisan, bourgeois. Count me in. Performs good. It's awesome. I don't know that Vaxi PD. Watch out. That's another thing. Let's give a shout out to Vaxi this year with the Vaxi PC and the Vaxi PD. That their heat molding, engineering technology of putting the fabric on the base without this edge stitching is revolutionary. The way they do it gives the cloth and the foam a different feel. So shout out to Vaxi for those two pads. They're incredible. Highly recommend them. Just crazy good pads. And I think both are a crazy good deal. The PC at $30? Man, that's hard not to recommend to everybody. But I can tell you now that the PD's out, if you got more than $50, You don't want to go artisan. Have Vaxi PD, baby. And I might recommend the Vaxi PD over the artisan, and it might get Mousepad of the Year. I don't know. We'll see. Hint, hint. I digress. Yeah. So that's going for Mousepad technology. The Power Play by Logitech and the Firefly by Razer. Roast me in the comments for that one. That mousepad sucked to use, but it was cool. It looked incredible. If you're denying that, you're a damn idiot. Let's give Cooler Master a shout out. They're the first one, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to have an RGB cord in the outside that wasn't like it was comfortable. I still have that pad. It's a great pad. Yeah. So what are the other ones I needed? Everglide for the first hard pad. For the first plastic pad. All the 3D, whoever created those old painter pads, the architect pads. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for that. Really changed how mousing could be done and made, these large, low sensitivity flicks possible. I'm sure Jonathan Wendell out there, Fatality, is very thankful for that. And I think Zai is probably, Rocket Jump Ninja, is probably old enough to remember those days. I don't know his exact age, but I'm sure he's very thankful for that too. And I'm sure Zai is very thankful for the Razer Boomer Slang, which, really introduced gaming peripherals, or like esports gaming, high performance gaming peripherals and technology and materials and everything to the market. So if you wonder the reason we have gaming mouse pads, and it was partially because of the recognition that the Boomer Slang got in the room you needed for it, and that kind of legitimized, along with esports tournaments reaching 500 people at their BYOCs and making local news and then national news, big prize pools, and there's a lot of money in it. A lot of people wanted to play games at a higher caliber, so here we are. X-Ray Pad, big shout out to you. You were, I really think you revolutionized and started the trend towards higher quality, consistent, varied options, gaming mouse pads. Your Aqua 3 control is still one of my favorite surfaces for a fast balance pad. It still holds up. I got the one in storage that's 21 years old now. Pretty cool. I got the GOT Frag Pad, which is a clone, same design. That's from 2004. So yeah. Shout out to SteelSeries for always trying to innovate those hybrid pads from 2005 to 2013. You guys had a lot of iterations of some wild pads. The 5L is still one of my favorite mouse pads of all time. It had flaws, but man, the thing was awesome. It was great. Yeah. And really, the company should give thanks to the gamers for their feedback, their use, their continued support. Yeah. Oh, and for LAN tournaments, SteelSeries again with the QCK Heavy. I can't say I've owned any other pad over 5 times, and the Quick Heavy, I've had probably 15 of them, 13, 15. And it was my default go-to recommendation for a pad for 7 years. And before that, the QCK was my recommendation. It's like, well, you either go with the Razer Goliathus, or if a store near you has the SteelSeries QCK, or you're okay ordering online, QCK, baby. All right, guys, wrapping this one up. If I left anything out, please let me know in the comments. Let's do that again. Let me know in the comments and give me a thumbs up. Woo! Because I'd really like that. It makes my ego inflate. Whee! FragWatch out. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. If you disagree or agree, let me know. If I missed anything, man, please let me know in the comments. Those things help all of us because we get to see more opinions. And, I have good opinions. I'm very well informed. But there's people out there that know more than me or know things that I don't. And, the things I don't know, I mostly I want to know. I'd love to learn. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support and hope you enjoy this video. Catch you in the next one.